All right, let's talk about DJI's brand new action camera, the Osmo Action 6. On the surface, it's this amazing piece of tech. I mean, it's packed with some incredible stuff. But there's a bigger story here. This little camera's release actually tells us a whole lot about the clash between innovation and, well, global politics. So let's dive in and break it all down.
So DJI's official tagline for this camera is "Square up, nail the move." Kind of catchy, right? It's bold, it's confident, and it's actually pretty clever because it points you directly to the two things that make this camera totally different from everything else out there: its actual shape and its absolutely jaw-dropping performance.
But you might be thinking, a square camera? Is that just some kind of marketing gimmick? And honestly, that's a fair question. But the answer is no, not at all. Behind this super simple square design, there's some of the most groundbreaking tech we've seen in an action camera in, well, in years.
Yeah, this thing is a revolutionary action camera. We're talking a major leap forward. It's got several industry firsts that are pretty much setting a whole new standard for what a tiny, tough little camera can actually do.
Okay, so the official launch date was November 18, 2025. And DJI came out swinging, promising this camera would completely redefine what's possible in a small, rugged package. That's a big promise, right? So how exactly were they planning on pulling that off?
Well, it really comes down to two game-changing innovations. To really get what makes the Action 6 so special, you got to look at these two core features. And I'm not just talking about boring numbers on a spec sheet. These things fundamentally change the way you shoot. First up is something called a variable aperture. Now, for as long as action cameras have been a thing, they've used a fixed aperture. That just means there's one setting for how much light gets in, and that's it. You're stuck with it. But the Action 6, it is the very first action camera to have a mechanical aperture that can physically open and close to adjust the light. That's a huge deal. And here's why that matters to you. With the old tech, if it was too bright out, you'd have to physically screw on these little dark filters, called ND filters, to control the light. It's kind of a pain. With the Action 6's variable aperture, the camera just does it for you. It adapts. This means you get way better performance in low light and, get this, for the first time ever in an action cam, you can get that natural blurry background look, that depth of field, just like you see with big professional cameras. Okay, the second game changer is this wild, custom-designed square sensor. And it's a double whammy. First, it's nearly 40% larger than the last one. That is a massive increase, and it's going to mean way better image quality. But it's that unique square shape that is the real secret sauce for any modern creator. So let's talk about what this means for the modern creator. How do these techie upgrades actually help you in the real world? Well, it's pretty simple. They save you a ton of time.
Okay, check this out. This is literally the shoot once, post everywhere dream. You shoot one single clip. Then, because that sensor is square, it captures a massive amount of information, both top to bottom and side to side. So you can take that one file, crop it into a 16:9 video for YouTube, and then recrop that same file into a 9:16 video for TikTok or Reels, all from the exact same clip with basically zero loss in quality. No more filming once horizontally and then turning your camera sideways to film it all over again. That's a game changer.
And trust me, the pro features do not stop there. You've got a super night mode for ridiculously clean 4K video in the dark. You've got Rocksteady 3.0 Plus for that buttery smooth stabilization. It shoots in 10-bit D-Log M color, which is awesome for editing. Oh, and it can connect directly to two DJI mics without needing a clunky receiver. Plus, the thing is just built like a tank and waterproof up to 20 meters right out of the box.
How about battery life? How does 4 hours sound? Yeah, up to 4 hours of recording for an action camera that is absolutely massive.
And, when you eventually do run it down, it charges back up super fast. We're talking 80% battery in just 22 minutes. If you're a creator out in the field, that is an absolute lifesaver.
Oh, and here's maybe one of the most underrated features of all: 50 gigabytes of built-in storage. Come on, if you've ever gotten to a location and realized you forgot your memory card, you know exactly how huge this is. Okay, so what we have here is an incredible piece of tech, right? It seems to tick every single box for a modern creator. But this is where our story takes a really sharp, unexpected turn. We're about to shift from a tech review into a pretty complex geopolitical puzzle. So just to recap, right, we have a top-tier camera packed with industry-first technology. I mean, a variable aperture, a revolutionary square sensor, tons of pro features. It's at the absolute top of its class. But you can't officially buy it in the United States.
And there's the twist. Despite this thing having a huge global launch, there was even a US landing page set up for it, but DJI confirmed it would not be sold through their official US channels. So what on earth is going on here?
So it turns out this whole global first, America later, or maybe America never, strategy isn't a one-off thing. It's actually part of a larger pattern for DJI. The company is under intense regulatory pressure in the US, and it's forcing them to be really, really careful about how they launch products here.
Now, to really get why this is happening, you have to understand a super crucial distinction. Because when we talk about politics and DJI, the pressure is almost entirely focused on one half of their business. It's about drones, and why cameras aren't drones.
And this table really lays it all out. On one side, you have DJI drones. They are under a massive microscope in the US. They're linked to national security concerns. They face FCC authorization hurdles. They're named in the National Defense Authorization Act. The scrutiny is incredibly high. But then you have DJI's other stuff. Their cameras like the Action 6, their gimbals, their mics. Those are just seen as standard consumer electronics. The security risk is considered low, and they've generally been available with no problems until now.
And that pressure on the drone side is really intense. We're talking about the US Department of Defense raising red flags over their supply chain. You've got US Customs holding up shipments because of the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act. And there's this huge December 23, 2025 deadline from the FCC that could basically block all their new drones. So you can see why DJI is playing it safe, even with a camera that isn't directly in the line of fire.
So this really brings us to the heart of the matter, this clash between the product and the politics. It's just a classic case of an absolutely incredible piece of consumer tech running headfirst into a giant, complicated wall of global politics.
Yeah, the Osmo Action 6 is a perfect case study in this. It shows us how cutting-edge consumer tech can get caught right in the crossfire of complex global politics. Its story isn't just about cool features anymore. It's about how this little camera has basically become collateral damage in a much, much bigger fight.
And that really leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? In this interconnected world we live in, is just having great technology enough to succeed when politics gets in the way? The Osmo Action 6 is, by all accounts, a fantastic camera. But its rocky path to the market shows that maybe, just maybe, engineering brilliance isn't enough anymore. Maybe the real challenge is just navigating the politics.